Do you wake up in the morning and feel disappointed straight away? You check your inbox and see that no clients have messaged you back, and you start thinking, damn, I should have become a copywriter instead. Before you make that decision, just listen up for a second. Today we're talking about the one thing that separates broke editors from the booked out ones. Most editors never really hit their income goals, and that's not because they're bad at editing, it's because they're trying to be everything to everyone. If you're not speaking directly to a specific type of client, you're just a name in a long list of names. So that's why today we'll talk about niching down. Now I get it. When you're starting out, it feels safer to stay broad and take on all the work you can, but trust me, that won't get you far. Specialists get paid. Let's use an example here. Let's say your mom was going through, kidney surgery, and you had two doctors. One of them has done 2,000 surgeries, just general, on everything, the liver, the gut, whatever, 2,000 surgeries, and the other one has done only 1,000, and just the kidney. He costs a little more, but he's the best. Which one would you choose? Same applies to video editing. If you're a big gaming YouTuber, let's say, and you're looking for the best editor and you're gonna pay him the best money, you'd never just hire some random guy who edits all kind of stuff. You'd look for that one guy who's the best at gaming videos. That'll get you hired and get paid. High-paying clients want to pay you a lot of money for the best results. That's why you need to specialize in one area and become the best. And low-paying clients, on the other hand, don't care about this at all. They just want the guy from India who's willing to do the work for $3 an hour and just deliver it somewhat well. Don't be that guy. So hopefully you now understand why picking a niche is so important if you actually want to succeed in this field. But how do you actually pick a niche? Let's break it all down. So a niche, you can think of it as a segment of a market. And we need to pick the one that fits us the best. Before we go into it, I'll show you a few qualifying questions which you can ask yourself when you're picking a niche. First, are people in your niche making at least 5K a month or more? I'd say 5K a month is the absolute minimum for them to afford your service. My rule of thumb is to never take a client who's paying you less than $500 a month. And if they're making 5K a month in their business, they're going to be able to at least afford that, but preferably go for something more. I started with targeting people who make at least 5K a month, but now I look for anything between 20 to 200K a month. Second, are you passionate about the niche? This is not a requirement, but it helps so much. And me personally, I would never go into a niche or market that I don't really like or that I'm not passionate about. I know some people say that you don't have to be passionate about anything, you just have to be passionate about money, but it's just so much easier if you choose a niche that you like, and there are so many niches out there, so why not? So pick a niche that you like, and that'll bring us to the third qualifying question, which is, do you understand the niche? This one is super important because client acquisition is, yes, it's a lot about sales tactics and negotiations and this psychology trick and whatever, but it's also about the niche specific language you use to seem like a professional and be able to close a prospect. So remember to keep these three qualifying questions in mind whenever selecting a niche. Now your actionable step is to come up with a few niche ideas. You'll most likely start off by thinking way too broad. For example, fitness as a niche is super broad and you most likely won't become the best editor in that niche just because there's so much competition out there. For this reason, you want to pick a niche and under that niche pick a sub-niche and maybe even under that niche pick another sub-niche. For example, the first niche I properly got into was dropshippers or e-com gurus online who've made a fuck ton of money with dropshipping, who are now trying to sell a coaching program or a course or something like that to their audience, to beginner dropshippers who want to make money with it. That was my niche. The reason I chose this was, first, they make a lot of money. Two, I like the e-com space, it was pretty cool. I also had a dropshipping store prior, so I had some basic knowledge. So it matched the three qualifying questions I talked about earlier, and it was also not too broad. So with that being said, go ahead and come up with a couple niche ideas, and you can use ChatGPT to brainstorm and help, but the actual choice you have to make yourself. You can just tell ChatGPT something like, hey ChatGPT, I edit educational long-form YouTube videos, what could be a good niche for me to get into? And then he will most likely give you super broad niches, and what you want to do is take those broad niches and come up with a sub-niche below it. For example, he could give you fitness, and you would have to pick a niche under that that is related to fitness but way more niched down. So for example, something like 50-year-old men struggling with back pain. That just came off the top of my head, but you get the point. Next, let's get into niche researching. YouTube and Google are a great place to start, and I want you to go to YouTube first and look for these following lines. How do you become your niche? For example, how do you become a dropshipper? How does your niche make money? How to open a your niche / business? Then I want you to watch through some of the videos you find and see, number one, if there's even demand for video editing. So are people making content about it? And is it a good way to get sales for their business? So make sure there's demand for the service. Second, you want to look at what kind of videos work well for that niche. This is super important because this will determine the service you'll be offering. So are long-form videos doing good, or are shorts dominating the space? Figure it out. Then next up, I want you to go to Google and search for things like how much does the average your niche make a year? Search for the average profit margins of your niche and stuff like that. This will give you a good understanding of the revenue, profits, expenses, etc. for the niche. Now that you're done your research, you should have a few options in mind. One more thing I wanted to mention was that you want a stable or growing niche, preferably. For example, the newspaper industry is completely dead because of everyone just doing digital newspapers. So that would be a niche you should be avoiding. This is something to keep in mind because you don't want to get really good at a niche just for it to fade away. And now after you've selected your niche, another thing you have to select is the actual service you offer, which I mentioned previously. There are so many types of services in the content creation space you could be offering. There's obviously long-form content, short-form content, VSLs, log videos, lifestyle content, even thumbnail creation, some graphic design. Pick one. And luckily, through your niche research, you should have a good understanding with the type of content that works best for your prospects. For example, if you're targeting dropshippers who sell a coaching program, educational long-form talking head videos with a CTA somewhere in the middle, getting the viewers to click the link in the description would work the best in that case, which is exactly what I did. This one niche, one service approach is the best way to start making real money as a video editor. But keep in mind, once you progress in your journey, you will eventually become multi-serviced due to the fact that once you get a client, you want to retain them for as long as possible. So this could mean you start off by making their long-form videos, but then they actually need shorts as well, so you're the guy who can also do that. Then you make their thumbnails also, but this is much later on in your journey, and most likely when you're starting to hire people and building a team. At this stage, the one niche, one service approach will be the best way to speedrun your progress and basically outshine all the competition around you who are just doing everything to everyone. One niche, one service, become an absolute G in those and you'll crush it. Now I want you to comment down below the niche and service you selected, and I'll personally come and reply to every single one of you guys and give you my honest feedback, because I just want to make sure every one of you succeeds in this field. That's the reason I'm making these videos. And now that you have a niche, now you need to learn how to outreach to prospects, and that's exactly what this video will teach you. It's on the screen right now. Go ahead and click it and I'll see you in there. Peace.